Hey guys, welcome back to the Portakeeper YouTube channel. My name is Barrett, and you may have seen me on the Espresso Outlet YouTube channel quite a bit more recently, but I wanted to do my own review of this newer product. It's called the BeanSeeker, and you've probably been seeing it all over Facebook. It's something fairly new to the market. The technology itself is new, but the method of the extraction, I want to say brewing, but the method of the extraction has been around for a long time. So when I first got this, I was a little bit of a skeptic. Really my experience with cold brew has been to go to a cafe and you get like a cold extracted or a cold brewed coffee. And the way that they do it, they have a toddy, it's like a big bucket, and sometimes they have filters at the bottom, sometimes it's just like a bag and they fill it up with coffee grounds. But it just always kind of was like a little bit of a muddy extraction. It wasn't really bad. It wasn't really good in my experience. I'm really big espresso fan. I like the high clarity, just really fruity espresso. If I'm not going to go with fruity, I like this just very rich, just velvety espresso. So that's always really my go-to, as well as just an awesome V60. So those are really my two faves. I've kind of gone to like some of the flat bottom. We're not going to talk about any of that. So going with one of those cold extracted immersion cold brews is kind of like, it's okay. I mean, it's coffee, so we all enjoy coffee, but when I got this, I was like, how is this really gonna be that much better? It still takes some time. What am I really gaining? I mean, I can go brew a large bucket of cold brew, and we're just gonna talk about that for a little bit. So I do have a toddy, it's down here, and I just stopped using it because it's such a pain to use. When I use it, it has kind of like a felt filter that fits in the bottom, and I use a drawstring bag. It's a reusable bag if you're not going to use the disposable bags. And I'd throw it in my pot or into a kettle or something like that. You need to boil it to sanitize it. So you have all that time. You grind your coffee grounds, you put it in there, and then you wait 24 hours. So it's really not that hard, but sometimes the next day I'd forget. So then it went too long, and it usually tasted okay if you went a little bit long, but it was more of a process. And when I got done with this process, it's like, it's okay coffee. I mean, I liked it for just kind of like an after lunch coffee. I'd throw some milk in it. I'm not a huge milk drink person anyway. I like black coffee, so those usually needed milk in it, even though they were pretty good. I mean, they weren't really sour or overly bitter by any means, but they just didn't taste very good. So when I got this, I was just maybe kind of a skeptic. I just didn't get it. I know there's going to be a few people watching this video and they're probably not going to like hearing that. So I was a skeptic. I just really didn't understand it. Pulled it out of the box. I thought it looked very cool. It's a very high quality machine. It is stainless steel. I feel like they've really thought it through. Actually, this is not my first machine. I have a prototype over here that they sent us, and that was the first one that I used. And it was really pretty awesome out of the box. Now, we did want to make a few things different for the United States. We wanted to make it shorter to fit under your counters. And then we just had a lot of really cool user ideas that we came up with that we wanted to incorporate in this machine. But I'm just wanting to talk about my experience of when I got it. So when we set it up, and I didn't really know how to use it, to be honest. I mean, the immersion cold brew, it's a pretty simple ratio. This is too. But what you're essentially doing is you're preparing a V60 style funnel, and you're going to do a fairly quick extraction, 45 minutes to an hour of cold brew coffee, or cold water through the coffee grounds. So this machine, it actually has a chiller in the top. And that's question number one. Is it just pumping water through? No. It actually has a chiller in the top. It's a semiconductor chiller, and when you use the touch settings on the front, it can get down to essentially 0 degrees. It's got to be a little bit warmer than that or it'll freeze up. So it's essentially 0 degrees. And if you put your hand down here, it's very cold if you put it beneath where it drops out. So that's question number one that I had is it just running room temperature water through? And the answer is no. It's actually putting extremely cold water through. The next question, I just didn't really understand the full extraction, and I didn't realize that the base of this machine had a scale in it. So what's so cool about that is it's actually controlling the flow rate. It's able to pre-wet the grounds. It's going to pre-wet the grounds more aggressively, and then once the grounds are pre-wet, it's going to slow down to that slower drops per milliliters per hour rate that you set. And its feedback for all of that is the scale that's integrated into the base. I did share a little tip about the scale. So let's say you don't have a scale, or maybe you don't have one handy. I've actually been using this to weigh my grounds. So you can actually put like a dosing cup in the front, click 0, and weigh out your grounds. So if you don't have a nice scale, it has one built in. So I mean, you don't need another scale necessarily. I do recommend getting a grinder. I oddly like conical a little bit more than flat, which is not like me when it comes to espresso. I am flat burrs all the way. I do enjoy a conical from time to time, but I am like 95, 98% flat. So for me to say I like conical is just kind of different. It brings a different level of extraction out. Something like this DF64 Gen 2, I've also found to be fantastic. It's actually the one that I use the most with this machine. I use this more for like your more rich, maybe like a honey process or a little bit more fruity extraction. So if I'm gonna do like those really deep, velvety, chocolatey extractions like a Mexico, even if it's like a natural process Mexico, it's still gonna be that very deep chocolate undertone. And something like this conical did a fantastic job. I really don't think you can go wrong. This will give you like a little bit more higher clarity, which is one of those things that I really look for in espresso. And I think one of those things why I really gravitate towards this machine. This machine isn't making that mucky cold brew that I'm used to at the coffee shop. And I'm not saying it's bad, it's just totally different. So as someone that really likes those extremely complex espressos, extremely complex extractions out of like a V60, I have a Pulsar at home that I've absolutely loved. This is kind of a game changer for that iced coffee market. And I don't drink this with milk. You can add other stuff in it. You could add some sugar in it if that's your thing. I just drink it black. And the complexities in this is just really out of this world, honestly. So I'll give you an example. I've had 2 people come by and I had some pre-made. I put it in my fridge and I just said, hey, I want you to try something. They'd never heard of it. This wasn't unveiled yet. And I poured them a glass and they go, wow, I've never had anything like this. It's not like out of this world insane, but it's just, I've never had anything like this. This is so clean. Like, did you do some weird flash chill or something? Like, how did you do this? Like, it had none of that really gross bitterness. It very clean, very crisp. And I showed them the machine. They kind of were a little bit dumbfounded, and I explained how it works. They ended up wanting more, and then they leave. This happened twice to me. And within 24 hours, I was getting messages like, what's that thing called? Do you have that for sale yet? Do you think I could try this other coffee bean on it? Like, what do you think about this? And I could tell they were very just surprised by the complexities that this is able to deliver. So this has been around for a while. It's actually something called a Kyoto Tower. It originated in Japan several hundred years ago. And you may have seen them. They're like those really tall glass towers that have sometimes a little swirly pipe, and you put ice in the top, and this does a very slow drip through those grounds. And it might take a few hours. It could take a day depending on the size of it. Some of them are pretty big, like they'll make 12 cups of coffee, but it's going to take 24 hours. And when we were talking to the manufacturer of this product, they're actually Chinese, and he goes, in China, this is kind of a delicacy. Like, people don't just come to the shop and say, hey man, give me like one of them ice strips. Because they show up a day early and they buy their coffee a day early, and then they come and they drink it the next day because it takes so long to do the extraction. So they just don't have all this ice strip just laying around. I mean, it takes sometimes 24 hours to prepare that for the person. When it's gone, it's gone. So that really shows me that it's a pretty interesting drink that I just don't think America is used to. And I feel like a lot of people, they look at this, they're like, I don't get it. They just keep scrolling. I get that. I was exactly the same person when I originally got this. So hopefully that answers some of the questions about this machine. I really enjoyed it. It's actually on Kickstarter right now. We're going to eventually be having it on the Espresso Outlet website as well. It comes in black and white, just a little sales pitch. Comes in black and white. It does come with the V60 funnel, at least for now. We may offer something in the future, maybe save some money, and it doesn't come with all the adders, but it has like a V60 style glass funnel and a carafe. One of our reviewers, he said this is like the most beautiful carafe I've ever seen on any setup like this. I agree, it does look very nice. It's kind of like a mirrored smoked glass look. So just very attractive, I think, on your counter. You can run different filter holders. So like I tried my Pulsar in it, it worked. I have a V60 right here, it worked. Dylan that works for Espresso Outlet, he put his April dripper, and it kind of looks like a V60, but it has the flat bottom. It works. So as long as it fits in here, it should be good to go. A lot of people, if you're not wanting to use the carafe, something cool that I've seen is just get the smaller, like about that tall, disposable clear cups with the lid. And then you can do the extraction, put the lid on, throw it in your fridge, and it's ready to go for the next day. And that's just your, instead of a carafe, you're using a cup. So a lot of different ways you can use this. It's brand new. You could say quote unquote technology of ice dripper has been out there for hundreds of years, but it's slow. It takes a long time to clean up all those little fragile pieces of glass. You need to sanitize every once in a while. I haven't done just like a real-time video of setting this up yet, but to set this up, it's maybe a minute. The extraction takes 45 minutes to an hour. I typically find myself doing it before dinner and then putting it in the fridge for the next day. So that's really just my overview of this machine. I wanted to share some of that, just more of an education thing, I think, more than anything. Because myself, I just kind of didn't get it in the beginning. And I still think maybe there's quite a few people out there that just don't quite get it. So I think, at least I hope, this helps you understand this machine. It might not be for everyone, and I get that. A lot of people, they don't like iced coffee or cold coffee. That's totally cool. But I do appreciate you guys watching today. If you guys could hit subscribe, even if this is your first time here, that really helps me out. We do try to make as much content as we can. You'll probably see me on Espresso Outlet a little bit more. I am over on the Kaleido YouTube channel as well. So if you head over to those channels and subscribe to those as well, that helps us out even more. So thanks for watching. If you have any specific questions about the BeanSeeker or even anything else, every time I get on with the live, someone's like, hey, what about that machine? What about that grinder? That's totally cool. Just leave them in the comments below. Preferably about this machine. It's probably better to reach out via email on the Espresso Outlet website if you have a question about something other than this machine. But I do appreciate y'all watching. Thanks.